Every week we ask listeners to send in a sentence of news about their lives. We put them together to make the Your News Bulletin. Anyone can take part. We never broadcast people's names, just their sentences of news. Sometimes, though, a sentence stops us in our tracks and makes us want to know more. On those occasions, we contact the listener and ask if they'd like to tell us more. And that's what happened when we read this sentence.
6 months ago, it seems our 12-year-old daughter took a subconscious decision to follow an anorexic lifestyle. This week, we nearly lost her as her heart became so weak that she collapsed.
In the hope that telling us more might help other people, the listener kindly agreed to come into our studio.
In September last year, we noticed slight changes to behaviour. In fact, from a school point of view, perhaps more focused and more determined. So would come home and would do homework immediately. Okay, that's good.
It's every parent's worst nightmare.
I know. And, you'd say, well, let's stop her on that immediately. But she was becoming more focused and more determined and more interested in food in general, watching the many chef programs on TV now. The education side, she became more focused. She became interested in sports. As I listen back to myself saying that, it sounds all okay. But my wife in particular started to notice that she was, already a slim girl and becoming slimmer. And at that point, the GP said, yes, there is something wrong here. Really, she started to social behaviour started to change.
What happened?
She'd start to become quieter. She would be less chatty and sociable. Although she still was sociable with friends at school, we heard that they were starting to notice things as well about eating behaviour.
What was that? What was she doing?
She'd ask about, what are you eating and how many calories in that? Oh, I'm eating this and this is how many in this. So there was a bit of a kind of food competition going on.
The GP who said, well, there is something there, what was the advice as to what you and your daughter should do? She
gave us the kind of verbal feedback, but also said, I'm going to refer this case to the local NHS eating disorders department. We had a consultation, and I think it was then the weekend, and at home she got up in the middle of the night and we heard this thud. That was the first time that she became so weak. She actually couldn't walk unassisted. That day, our daughter was admitted as an emergency case to the local general hospital.
In January?
That's right. I remember having a conversation with my wife, and I said something like, at this rate, she's not going to make her 13th birthday. So what do we do? We weren't seeing the action that we thought was going to arrest this decline in her weight. She was continuing to drop to a very low number of kilos.
Do you mind if I ask how many kilos?
It's 28 something.
Good Lord.
I remember one consultant came in probably about a week or so, 10 days after the first admission, and said, right, this is it. She's going to go onto a tube called a nasal gastric tube. It's fed in through the nose and down into the stomach. That was now her diet.
Do you mind if I ask, because the love that you and your wife have for your daughter is self-evident from what you're saying. I wonder, please forgive the question, I wonder whether a part of you wasn't also angry at her.
Feelings of anger, for sure. What have you done to yourself? How could you let this happen? There's anger on us. How could we let it happen? How could we have not done anything sooner, or not seen things, or intervened? I don't know.
What improvement has there been?
A lot of improvement from those days in late January and early February. She's eating by mouth now. Things are on the up.
What have you had to learn?
We've never been a family where we would wrap our child up in cotton wool, because children need to learn by experiencing the world. Having said that, we've got to remain watchful for our children and notice what they say, what they do, how they act, particularly around food. There's this very powerful inner voice in the anorexic person, like a dark cloak that's been put over them. They can't function or think properly. It's like some entity's clutching her shoulders and just standing there all the time and saying very strongly, don't eat that. Don't listen to them. There's your child, as you knew your child, and the goodness of your child. And there's the eating disorder. Not your daughter that's bad. It's the disease that's done this. And if you can, in a way, rationalize it that way as a parent, it's a good way of, keeping yourself sane.
How is your sanity, by the way?
It's better. Yeah, it's... yeah.
I wonder if we can finish just by going back to that sentence again. 6 months ago, it seems our 12-year-old daughter took a subconscious decision to follow an anorexic lifestyle. This week, we nearly lost her as her heart became so weak that she collapsed. If I were to ask you off the top of your head to sum up life now in a sentence, your news for this week, what might it be?
We're so pleased and grateful that our daughter and our family is on the way back to becoming a normal family again.
For more information on eating disorders, visit nhs.uk.